Hello, it's Grandma Karen. This lesson is for all machines with drop-in bobbins. If you have a removable bobbin case, then watch lesson 9.1b. I will show you how to change the needle and how to clean the lint from under the feed dog. Lint and threads under the feed dog can cause bad stitches. We are working near the needle today. Let's be safe. Turn the machine off or unplug it. To dispose of needles, we do not just throw them in the trash where they can poke someone through the plastic bag. We can wrap them in a paper towel before throwing them away. I've made a little container to dispose of mine. I put duct tape around the lid of this can, and then I make a slit in the top so that I can dispose of my needles this way. And then I store this away from little children so that they can't get into it. Your sewing machine needle is part of what makes great stitches. I change the needle often on my machine. How can you tell if you need to change your needle? The following photos will tell you. The yellow arrow is pointing to a needle with a burr or hook on the pointed end of the needle. This can cause bad stitches, broken threads, and damaged fabric. You will need to change the needle if your needle is like this. Sometimes needles break and have to be replaced. If your needle breaks, try to find all the pieces and properly dispose of them. We will discuss how to prevent breaking needles in our next lesson when we sew on fabric. I often start sewing by feeling the back of the needle. If it has a burr or a hook on it, or if it feels rough like sandpaper, I know it's time to change the needle. If my top thread keeps breaking, or if the tension on my stitches look horrible, or the machine is skipping stitches like the top right photo, I first rethread the machine. If I still have this problem, I put in a new needle. Sometimes a bent, a burred, or a damaged needle can cause these problems. If I hear a crunching or a punching sound as the needle goes into the fabric for each stitch, then I know the point of the needle has become dull and I need to change the needle. Eventually you will be able to hear it when the needle is dull. You need to change the needle about every 6 to 8 hours of sewing. Check the needle often. A new needle makes better stitches. Let's look closely at this huge model of a sewing machine needle. At the top of this needle, where the needle goes into the sewing machine, it's rounded. This is the front of the needle. The front of the needle has a groove that runs down to the hole or the eye of the needle. This is where the thread lies. I turn the needle over, and this is the back of the needle. The back of the needle has a flat side at the top instead of a round side. This photo shows the flat side of the needle and the round side of the needle at the top of the shaft. Here's an important stitch note to help reinforce this. A needle that is bent, dull, rough, or has a burr on the end can cause bad stitches. Change the needle every 6 to 8 hours or when you see or feel or hear problems. To take the needle out of the machine, you will have to turn the needle screw. Your machine's needle screw may look similar to one of these. For most machines, you can just use your fingers to loosen the screw. Some machines have a special screwdriver like these photos to loosen the needle screw and remove the needle. To take out the old needle in this machine, I put the presser foot down. I put the needle in its top position, and then I'm going to hold the needle with my left hand, and I'm going to undo the screw by turning it towards me, turning the top of it towards me, and till the needle comes out. I don't want to unscrew this so much that the screw falls out, and I want to make sure I hold on to the needle so that it doesn't fall into the machine. I'm going to place the old needle on a plate or a bowl, and I'm going to take a new needle out of this package here. For this brand, I need to pull this clear plastic part in the front down, and then this part folds back a little. You don't want to fold it back too much or it'll break. And then I can take out a new needle, and then I'm going to put those back into my plate. And then to put this in, I want the flat side of my needle facing the back of my machine. I'm going to put it in that little hole with my left hand, and I'm going to turn the screw until it's tight. And I'm going to make sure that it's pushed up all the way into the machine. If the needle is not into the hole all the way, your machine will not work. On some older machines, instead of threading the needle from the front to the back, you will be threading it from the right to the left, and the flat side of the needle will be facing the left side of the machine. I will make another longer video on needles with a lot more information in a later lesson. Your mentor will choose the correct needle to sew your first quilt. There are still a couple more things you need to know about needles that affect your stitches. The yellow arrow on the left side of the photo is pointing to the needle type, which is called universal, and the bottom right arrow is pointing to the needle size, which is 80/12. These two needles help you understand size. You can see the groove down the front of these two needles. The needle on the left is a size 110. See how thick the shaft is? The eye and groove are also large. The needle on the right is a size 60 needle. The shaft and eye are much smaller. The groove is tiny. Look at the thickness and size of the thread in each needle. This thick thread would have a hard time going into the little size 60 needle. The thickness of the shaft is called the size. The groove on the needle where the thread lies and the eye of the needle get bigger as the size of the needle goes up. Thicker threads need larger size needles. Needle style or needle type is how the point of the needle is shaped. The eye of the needle and the cutout behind the eye are also shaped differently for different types of needles. The style or type may be called stretch needle for sewing stretchy fabrics, or leather needle for sewing leather, or embroidery needle for going really fast in embroidery work. They are shaped to best work with different fabrics, different threads, and with different kinds of sewing. I will use a universal type needle size 80/12. It works well with the thread I'm going to use. The important concept here is when a thread is too big or too small for a needle, it can cause bad stitches and can cause thread to shred. The wrong type of needle for your fabric can also cause bad stitches and bad tension. I showed you how to thread your needle in Lesson 8. Some machines come with what is called a manual or automatic needle threader like this. On my machine, the needle threader does not work on the smaller size 60 or 70 needles. The needle threader should be used gently. Some of them break easily. Let's use the needle threader on this machine. Okay, so I've had the machine turned off. I've threaded the machine except for the eye, and I'm using the hand wheel to make sure that the needle is in the highest position. So I'm going to start by holding this thread. I'm going to push this lever down, and I'm going to put that thread underneath that plastic hook right there. And then I'm going to push down and push it forward a little bit, and it's going to go under. There's a little hook right here. And I'm going to pull on that, and I'm going to slowly let it go back up. I've let go of this, and behind the needle there is a loop. I've turned the machine so you can see the back of the needle now. So what happens is this needle threader makes a loop back here. So it doesn't put the tail through there, it puts a loop. And then I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to grab a hold of that loop and I'm going to pull on it. And it's kind of awkward on this side, but you would be doing this from the front. And then you just pull on it until the tail comes out. And that's how the automatic needle threaders work. One last thing we need to do before we start sewing is we are going to find the slit in your presser foot, and you're going to pull that thread to the back and behind the foot. All machine threaders are different. If your machine has one, it will probably be different from this machine. Look at your machine's guidebook for specific instructions, or look online for a video using the threader on your specific machine. Here are some gadgets you can buy that pull a loop of thread to the back of the needle, similar to the ones built into some machines. For this threader, 1. Lay the thread across the slit in the white part of the threader. 2. Lay the threader at the top of the groove on the front of the needle and slide it down the groove until it gets to the needle's eye. In photo 3, it shows pushing the needle threader into the eye. On number 4, you pull the threader out. It leaves a loop of your thread behind the eye. Hold on to the loop and pull it towards the back of the machine until the tail of the thread comes out. In photo 5, it shows the other end of this needle threader has a hole in it that you can use to put the needle in when you're putting it in and out of the hole. Every sewing machine gets lint inside from the thread and the fabric. You will need to clean it regularly. Many experts advise cleaning the machine every time the bobbin runs out. If you find your stitches are not good, cleaning your machine usually makes them better. Clean the dust off the outside of the machine with a soft cloth. You will need a lint brush like one of these. One probably came with your machine. I've removed the needle and the presser foot, not just this snap-on part, but the whole foot from the screw. I have also removed the top thread. Your machine will look similar to one of these machines. The metal part under the presser foot is the needle plate or the stitch plate. The yellow arrow points to it. We will remove this. The plate over the bobbin is metal in older machines or plastic in newer machines. It is called the bobbin case cover or the bobbin case plate, or may also be called the slide plate. The green arrow points to it. We will also remove this. There are many ways to remove the stitch plate that covers your feed dog. Some just pop off by pulling or pushing a certain way. Some machines need a screwdriver to remove the stitch plate. The right photo shows a machine that needs a screwdriver to take the stitch plate off. A screwdriver may have come with your machine. It may look like one of these in the left photo. Screws can be very tight when they come from the factory or from the repair shop. Your mentor may need to help you get the screws off. I have bent the flimsy screwdriver that came with one of my machines. Try a stubby screwdriver shown in the right photo. They come in Phillips and flathead. They are easy to use in the tight space of the sewing machine and they don't bend. So I'm going to lower the needle a little bit. I'm going to take my lint brush and I'm going to clean around here, around the needle clamp and the needle bar right there like that. Sometimes you get some lint off of there. I got a little bit off. And then you want to put the needle back to its highest position. I'm going to remove the bobbin case cover. On this machine I have to push that little black button and then I take it off, and I'm going to remove the bobbin. Now I'm going to take off the stitch plate on this machine, and I need to use a screwdriver. I've already loosened this screw so that it's almost done. I'm going to use this stubby screwdriver. You can see how easy it is to use it in this tight space. And when that's off all the way, then I can take the stitch plate off, and you can see the feed dog now. Always put all the parts you remove from your machine in a plate or a bowl. They get lost very easily and they're expensive and sometimes even can't be replaced. See the lint and fuzz near the bobbin area and around the feed dog? This machine isn't too bad yet. This needs to be cleaned. Brush the lint towards you. You don't want it to fall back into these holes back here, so always try to get the lint off, and you can already see that there's some lint starting to get on my brush. You can pull them off and put on your plate. We're going to clean this. Don't use anything sharp to pull out the lint or threads. Scratching parts of the machine with a metal tool or pin will cause your top thread to break. If it's been a long time since the machine was cleaned, or if it is extra dirty, you will need to take out the black bobbin case. Remove the bobbin case and clean under it and around it. Your mentor may need to help you with this. Read the directions in your guidebook to do this. These photos show the bobbin case in the machine and the black bobbin case out of the machine. Run the bristles of the brush in the thread path of your bobbin case to make sure there is no lint or thread stuck inside. You can do this while the black bobbin case is in the machine or when it is out of the machine. I pull this black bobbin case up and out. I clean underneath, right here, like this. And then I'm going to clean the outside of the bobbin case and the inside of the bobbin case. Get all that lint off of there. Then I'm going to slide the bristles of my brush in that groove where my thread lays when I thread my bobbin. Try to make sure there's no thread or lint in there. Sometimes when you put this back in, you need to turn your hand wheel so that the needle is in the up position. And I'm going to slide that in. There's a little knob that goes against this stop right there. Every bobbin case is different. Sometimes there's a little latch that needs to get pushed over here or a screw that needs to be turned when you're doing this bobbin case. Putting the stitch plate back on your machine may necessitate looking in your manual. The same with this black bobbin case. Then you're going to put your bobbin case cover in place. You can also take photos of each step as you take the pieces off. Drop-in bobbin machines usually do not need to be oiled. Some older machines may need oil. Only use sewing machine oil. The guidebook will have a photo of where to put a drop of oil. Do not use canned air on your machine. You can, however, use a special vacuum or a vacuum attachment. Many of these small vacuums are made to clean electronics and keyboards. It is important to take your sewing machine in for tune-ups, just like a car. A good technician can make fine-tuning adjustments that you cannot. I take my machine in once a year. Our last stitch note says, lint and dust inside your feed dog and bobbin areas can cause bad stitches and thread jams. Clean out lint after every bobbin change. We've had another lesson with a lot of information, but you only have to learn how to clean your machine. For your homework, show your mentor that you can do the following things. 1. Remove the needle from the sewing machine. Replace the needle with the same needle or with a new one. Properly dispose of the old needle. 2. Remove the bobbin case cover, the bobbin, and the stitch plate. Carefully clean out all the lint and threads. 3. Put all the pieces back together correctly. 4. Point out the needle size and the needle type on a package of needles. In our next lesson, we will sew on another practice worksheet, and we're going to sew on fabric squares. We will learn what a seam is and how to sew using the guidelines on your stitch plate. See you next time. And here's a note to the mentor. In our next lesson, we will use the machine with thread. Print out the worksheet posted underneath the video link for Lesson 10, or look at the handout and draw a similar paper. You will need the following: 6 squares or rectangles of fabric at least 3 inches by 3 inches. 2 long pieces of fabric at least 12 inches long and at least 2 inches wide. You'll need pins and small scissors. Thank you for helping someone learn to sew.